But before we do that, let us review some housekeeping reminders. Just give me a sec. Okay, Christina, did you start recording?
Yeah, I recorded it on the cloud, I believe.
All right. So yes, so just to make everybody aware, everybody comes on when you come on Zoom, your microphone and video are automatically off. You have an option to turn your video on. So then if you do that, you're visible to others. And you're always visible if you switch to another tab in your browser. So just be aware of that. And this is so you know how to protect your privacy. I know you have small kids around, and if there's anything that is around your surrounding that you wouldn't want to be seen on video, so just to make you aware of that. And there is an option later to like participate, like there's a chat at the bottom of your Zoom. You can like put in your question. We are trying to reserve the time for question and answer like later on after the presentations, so that we lessen the interruptions. And all our recipes will be shared to you. We shared the link on the chat, and you can access that. You can use that as a reference to follow along as you watch the presentation. Okay. And before we go on any further, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we are on. So Black Creek Community Farm acknowledges that the sacred land in which we operate is situated upon the traditional territories of the Wendat, Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit. This territory is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee Allied Nations to peaceably share and care for the lands around the Great Lakes. Black Creek Community Farm recognizes the many nations of indigenous people who presently live on this land, those who have spent time here, and the ancestors who have hunted and gathered on this land known as Turtle Island. All right, so in today's presentation, we are happy to have Christina and Eti. This is like their second presentation. So Christina actually is our urban harvest assistant and a community leader. She is passionate about community development, urban agriculture, and food. And before joining in as a staff of Urban Harvest, she was actually an active community leader, both here in Jane and Finch and also in her community down at Mount St. Denis. So she'll be presenting to you how to use like vegetable scraps to make vegetable broth. So take it away, Christina.
Thanks, Mildred. Hi, everyone. So as Mildred mentioned, I'm going to be making a veggie broth today with food scraps. It's very simple and straightforward, and I love it for so many reasons. Firstly, you're making your own broth, and so you save money in that way. You also know what you're putting into your broth, and you can control the amount of sodium that goes into it. And lastly, you are reframing your relationship with food in the way that you can make the most out of it before you compost it. So I have some food scraps that I'm going to go through to show like what you can put in your broth. I have some carrot peels over here. I have the skins of garlic, shallots, and onions. As long as they're clean, that's like the only hard rule with them. And I also just like, I'm going to use a fresh onion and garlic as well, just to enhance the aromatics in it. I also have pepper stems. I got some green onions, some celery. There's so much that you can do with it as well. It's great that it's extremely versatile and the broth will taste different every time depending on what you put in it. So for today, I also have garlic scapes because there were just some chilling in the freezer, and I didn't know what to do with it, but I can make a broth with it. You could also do mushroom stems as well. I don't have any of that, but you can do that. So what you can do with your scraps is just collect them over time. You can put them in like a 1-gallon freezer bag, those like Ziploc ones. And as long as you squeeze all the air out of it, there shouldn't be a problem with it. So these are the veggie scraps that I have today. And I'm going to be pairing that with some herbs and spices and other things. I got ginger, for example. I love ginger in soup just because it's such a good immune booster, and I love the flavor of ginger. I have some thyme and rosemary. The rosemary I grew in the backyard, and the thyme was just on some like planters along Weston Road. I have coriander seeds and turmeric. Again, the options are endless. I would just say that don't season your broth with salt until you actually use it the day of. Yeah. So I have about, like a Ziploc bag worth, which is 16, like the equivalent of 16 cups. And I'm just going to match that with 16 cups of water as well. So I'm just gonna toss it in a giant stock pot and cover it with water. So once I have it, you can see it there. Once I have it all in the pot, I'm just going to turn up my heat on high, but I'm gonna switch it over to the other side so that I can show you what to do with the broth that's already made. So you're gonna go to high heat and cover it until it's at a boil. And once it is at a boil, you're going to leave it uncovered and simmer it for an hour. And every now and then you're just going to check in on it and stir it, which I will be showing you. But after 1 hour, you're going to have your stock that is ready. So I made one in advance just to show you what to do with it. So here it is over here. It smells really good. Wait, sorry. I forgot to put these guys into the other pot. So I'm just going to do that. So back to this one. Once you have it ready, what you're going to do is get yourself a bowl and a slotted spoon, and you are going to scoop out all of the solids into it. You can compost these or find another way of using it. I don't know what to do with it yet, but I will think of something for sure. It's a lot of veggies. And hypothetically, this is going to be like fully cooled down by the time you do that. I just did it now because we're on a limited time thing here. Once 16 cups of this water plus broth is going to reduce down to about 8 to 9 cups of stock. I'm just going to scoop it into a container like this, or you can scoop it into like, again, those freezer bags. They should hold broth just fine. And once it's cooled down, you can put it in the freezer and it'll last in there for about 3 months or so. So I have some broth here. I'm gonna scoop it in. If you want to be extra sure that there's no solids left, you can put a cheesecloth over whatever you scoop your broth into. But this will suffice for me. And with the broth, there's so much that you can do with it. You could just put it in soup. You could use it in risotto. Options are endless, which is really fun and cool. Okay. So there we go. I got some lovely, beautiful broth. It smells really good. It's easy as that. That's all you need to do with it. It'll last 3 months in the freezer and up to a week in the fridge. So yeah, that's my demo for today. It was really quick. If there's any questions, just let me know.
Okay, so everyone, if you have any questions, we can open the floor to some of your questions before we proceed to the next presenter. So my question is, Christina, what kind of vegetables can you actually like use? Is this open to any vegetable?
Oh, yes, that's a good question. So the main ones that you want are celery, carrot, onions, and garlic. That's like a good base for it. But then from there, you could really throw in anything. You could even include, yeah, like I included pepper, like the stems of peppers. I included garlic scapes. You could do mushroom caps. I would say that if anything, you could avoid brassicas, which are like broccoli, dark leafy greens such as like kale and spinach, because if you put that into a broth, it will really develop like a bitter taste over time. You also want to avoid like green beans, and you want to avoid beets and potatoes just because like they are really starchy and it'll like add like a weird texture and taste to it. But other than that, those are the things that I would go for.
Cool. And so do you also like gather the vegetables? Like I know you don't always have like a bulk. So do you?
So what's good about it is that you would have like a Ziploc bag or an airtight container over time. You can leave it in your freezer for as long as you want, and once you have like the full amount, that's when you can make your broth. You don't even need to fill it up the entire time. Like if you have it halfway, you could know from there that you need, that's equivalent to 8 cups of broth, and then you would make 4 actual cups from that. So yeah, it's very much to your convenience because it's in the freezer.
Right. Thank you. Is there any comments? How do you do your own version of broth? If there's any comments from the audience, you can share it to us. And if there's also like any comments, what's the difference? I think Daniel pointed this out in our social media between broth. What is the difference between broth and stock? Interestingly, like I learned something in that post that Daniel did. Daniel, do you want to share to us? You're on mute, by the way. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, so the difference between broth and stock. So broth is, the purpose behind a broth is cooking meat. So what you do is you add your, what's called the vegetables, the mirepoix, and you add some seasoning and you just cook it long enough to cook the meat. And that is broth. But if you're gonna make a stock, traditionally a stock is done with bones, vegetables, some herbs, organic cider vinegar to extract some of the nutrients out of the bones. That's brought to a boil to kill off any germs, and then it's simmered for hours, depending on how big the bones are and what kind of bones they are. And what you're doing, you're extracting collagen out of the bones and all the nutrients. You strain that off, and then you allow it to sit in the fridge overnight. What will happen is the fat will go to the top, the solids will sink to the bottom, and in between the middle, you'll have your stock, which should turn to a solid from the collagen. And that's how you make stock. That's traditionally done in a professional kitchen.
That is very interesting. Yeah, for a lot of people, they sometimes they think like they don't have time, but actually, stock is just like gather all the ingredients together, and then let it just simmer away, and it's very, very nutritious. And why would people like choose this over something that they can easily buy, which is a lot of people would rationalize as, hey, it's not so convenient. I'd rather like buy or just use bouillon. So what would be like the advantage of making your own?
Well, there's a lot of advantages to making your own. So when you buy a stock or broth in a box or a can, whatever it may be, it's loaded with salts, MSG, and then there's no collagen. So what happens when you extract collagen out of bones, the bigger the bones, the more collagen you get, but the longer it takes to extract the collagen. So you're getting minerals, you're getting nutrients, and then you're getting the collagen. So ideally, when you're done making your stock, when it cools off in the fridge using bones, it should turn to a solid. So the more solid it is, the greater you extracted the amount of collagen, the more nutrients and benefits you get from that. Some people like the big bones. What I do is, like I was doing this morning, we bought 3 chickens. I cut the back out, and I keep the back in my freezer. So I got feet in my freezer. I got backs in my freezer. I got, when I buy parsley, I cut the stems off, we throw them in the freezer. Peeled carrots, you put the peels in the freezer, and you can just throw that in your stock pot at the end and extract the nutrients and flavor out of it. And what you can do with that stock is reduce it down and throw it in ice cube trays and freeze that. And so you can take like 4 liters of stock and reduce it down to enough for a couple of ice cube trays. And that's like concentrated stock. It's like it'll sit there on the counter because there's so much collagen. It'll just sit there and won't like turn into a liquid. And then you can reconstitute that by adding more water, and you're just like loaded with nutrients and flavors and bones, and it's just so good for you.
Oh wow!
I was gonna say too that it is a lot more like low maintenance than people think. So like you literally just leave it simmering, and you check in on it maybe like once or twice within like the hour or 2 hour that you leave it to simmer. But yeah, you are free to do whatever you want in between.
If you make a bone stock, what you do, you want to bring it to a boil, and it'll kill off any of the germs that's 212 degrees. Then you want a couple of bubbles, like simmering, like 171. And you just want like 1 or 2, maybe 3 bubbles. And that will extract all the collagen, all the nutrients, all the vitamins out of the bones, out of the marrow, out of the different things that you add. Then by adding an acid like organic cider vinegar, it extracts more of the stuff out of the bones, which are good for your health. Unless you're a vegetarian, then that's a problem, of course.
Yeah. So if you're a vegetarian, then stick to the first, to the one that Christina presented, which is all pure vegetables. If you're not, then you can put in meat. My family is not vegetarian, so we put in meat, and we particularly love cooking with bones, which a lot of people don't buy. It's actually cheap to have like bones, especially if you can get hold of organic meat. That's even wonderful. So yeah. So by the way, if in, just for FYI, Daniel is one of our Urban Harvest community leaders. He is a pastry chef by profession, and he knows a lot about like cooking in general, and a lot of information on health related things regarding food. So thanks, Daniel, for sharing that information. Is there anybody else who want to like share any feedback, comments, or questions?
Okay, I have a question. Daniel, when you're making the stock, do you put seasoning in it? And how you incorporate the seasoning?
Well, so ideally you don't put any seasoning in it because for two reasons. One is that if you want to reduce your stock later on to concentrate the flavors, to concentrate the collagen and all the rest of that, you're also concentrating any salt or any pepper or that kind of stuff. You know, I do add whole peppercorns, maybe a handful, like six or eight peppercorns.
Okay.
But ideally, you don't add any salt.
Yeah, I mentioned in terms of flavors, you can add like fresh herbs such as rosemary or thyme, and you can add like whole peppercorns or coriander seeds. But as Daniel mentioned, like you shouldn't put in salt until the end.
So you put, Christina, do you put it directly in the pot or you tie it in a cloth and stick?
I put it entirely in the pot just because when I'm scooping out the solids after the broth is done, usually like you'll get most of it out, and you would instead have like a cheesecloth or something over over like your container, for example, or whatever you're putting your broth in. So whatever seeds and stuff are at the bottom of it will be in the cheesecloth.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And you could also add, you can add like if you're making vegetarian broth, you could buy seaweed, dried seaweed sticks, whatever, and throw that in. And that'll add, it won't add collagen, but it'll add a lot of nutrients and flavors to your stock if you wish.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Well, thanks for sharing the information and making those comments. We can entertain more questions related to this topic later on, but for now, we are excited to have our second presenter, who is Eti, and her Mexican heritage drink, which is a fermented pineapple. That got me actually very curious about this because I didn't know that you can still use like pineapple skin. So she'll explain to you about that, but I'll introduce Eti. She refers to herself as a growth woman because she loves to learn and share her knowledge with those who are interested in what she knows. She believes that it is important to be part of a community and give her time to volunteering. That's why she loves to volunteer at Black Creek Community Farm. So without further ado, let's welcome Eti.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Christina. Thanks, Mildred. As Mildred say, I'm a volunteer at the Black Creek Community Farm. I love it. I learn every time I'm there. I learn something new, and I'm always excited to go. Well, today I'm presenting my one of the Mexican drinks that we have. It is called Tepache. We made it with the peel of the pineapple, and that Tepache it is too old. It comes from it's a drink for the Aztecs or Nahuatls. Mayas is a long way ago that we made this drink. Sorry, I'm a little thinking. Well, for the Tepache, we only need the peel of the pineapple, water, and piloncillo. Piloncillo is a traditional sugar from Mexico. It is called, you can find it as a panela. Only you can find the name of this piloncillo in Mexican stores. But if you don't find it in this presentation, you can always look for the panela. Let me show you the presentation that you can find this, like this, or in this presentation. It's the same. It's a healthy sugar. Well, the is more healthy than the white sugar that we drink, because this sugar or piloncillo, it doesn't have any process. Just they dissolve the water and they filter in a cone like this, and I don't know how it calls. It's just in a cone, and let go all the water, excess of water, drip, and then you get this. In let me just see something. In Victorian time or era, it was called sugar loaf or cone. And you have if you don't know about that history, in Canada and Toronto, you can go and visit Red Pat refinery sugar. They will show you how expensive it was in Victoria time, and how they preserve it, and they want everything white, so they blanket the sugar and they have a white cone. But in Mexico, for us, is the best sugar that we can get, more healthy. And yeah, it's something that I want to share with you guys. Well, and the last ingredient that we use is just water, and it will take about 3 days to make this drink, because we need to let the fermentation works. Okay, and for the people who doesn't know how to peel up pineapple, I will show you. Just first, you snap the crown. It is called the crown. One thing that you can, if you go to the supermarket and you don't know how to find the best pineapple, just you snap one leaf like this and smell it. If it smells like pineapple is good to go, good to eat. For some people, they don't take the pineapple ripe. It's not ripe. They don't take some people can eat the pineapple too sweet, because it's have diabetes. They need to eat the pineapple just raw, not too sweet, because it affects your sugar levels. So you can just be mindful in what do you need, what your body needs. And for me, it's good when it's fully sugary, when it's full of sugar. I like it, and I don't have diabetes, but I be careful with that. So the way that we cut the pineapple is just grab the pineapple like this. You cut off this part of the one. It's like the end and the head. The head, it could be where the crown is, and then you just turn it and you keep it here. This. You cut the end part, and then you just slice your knife like this. I will cut just one slice. You can go all the way. Just I want to show you a little bit how you can cut it. I will save this part for later. And because it's live presentation, I already have my pills here. I wash them and I place it in here. And what we need is a jar or glass. The glass you can use glass or you can use plastic. It really matters. It's not recommended to use iron or nothing metallic. It's better to use glass. Always, for me, it's better glass. It's more healthy and clean, and you can make sure you don't get any disease. So you put your pills inside, all of them. You add your piloncillo, water, I'm using 1.5 liters of water. But this with one pineapple and one piloncillo is about 2.5 grams, and you can do it a concentrate Tepache with just like this, or you can use the same pineapples and piloncillo for 3 liters. It's just about time to get the Tepache, probably because it's a little it's a less portion of water. It will be ready for tomorrow afternoon. But if when you have more water, it takes more time. It will change the color if you see. Now it's changing. Tomorrow it will be a little dark, more like dark. And I will show you the final product. It's that easy. It doesn't just it takes just a few times. You can cover with a cloth. This is a cheesecloth. You can use it and just close it. I keep it in your counter, sitting there. It doesn't need to be inside the fridge. It needs it needs a little, the place a little bit hot, not too cold, to let the fermentation going. So I will show you the final product. I use one pineapple. I use one pineapple and one piloncillo. It tastes really good. It's like this. And it has a little bit of bubbles in here. I don't know if you can see the bubbles. It's the fermentation is now ready. It's ready to go, ready to eat, drink. You can place it in a jar, a small jar. Or you just can drink it. Is when I will use my pineapple that I left. Like this. Mm, it's really good and fresh. It's like kombucha but sweet. And then you can spice it up if you want. I prefer just the way that I show you is my favorite. But some people use cinnamon stick. This is the Mexican cinnamon stick. You can use
Clove.
these ones. Star, anise star, or you can use
Clove. Clove.
what?
Clove.
Clove. You can use clove, yeah, or you can use pepper. In Mexico, we use a lot of these three ingredients. For our desserts, we use cinnamon, pepper, clove, and piloncillo. And we made a lot of traditional desserts, healthy desserts. It's a lot of sugar, but it's not the sugar that makes you sick, because it's the sugar that we use it doesn't have a lot of process. It's natural, you can say. And that's it. That's all my presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Can I ask a question? Eti, can you use regular sugar?
You can use brown sugar. Yes.
Brown sugar.
My advice is use by example, this is around 1 cup of sugar in the piloncillo, but I will use a quarter.
Quarter cup of sugar.
Yes. If you need more, you can add always more, but start with the lowest and then you add more.
Okay, another thing that I never make it this way, but I usually boil it. So when I boil it with the cinnamon and the clove and the aniseed.
Oh, I never tried that way. I will try it.
Well, I have to try this way. I never tried this way.
The way that I learn is because in some places in Mexico, some places they dissolve the cinnamon, the piloncillo in hot water. You can do that. You can. I think it's not it doesn't affect the process, but for me, what I learned, if I want some bubbles, more bubbles, I will just let sit on my counter. Don't over heat it. But I will try the way that you do, just to see how it goes.
I will try it your way too.
Yeah, somebody is telling that Vidula, hi Vidula, is it affects the fermentation. Yes.
I don't have palm sugar, so I'll use the regular sugar.
Yeah, my advice is eat brown sugar. It's healthy.
I'll try that. Thank you.
Yeah, if
So,
I may add about the fermentation, since the beauty about like fermenting raw is like you're actually benefiting from the raw materials. Actually, the skin of a lot of organic, especially organic produce, either vegetables or fruits, is that the skin is lined with all these probiotic bacteria, beneficial bacteria. So that's why we should aim for this if you can get a hold of organic, or if you grow anything in your backyard, so you don't put like insecticides and pesticides. So that means you have these things like going on, and then these are the beneficial bacteria needed in the fermentation, that when you drink it, it's beneficial to your gut. And then the gut is actually part of your healthy immune system. So I would say I guess if the boiling would be killing the bacteria, and I would suggest that like when we do like sauerkraut, it's fresh. When we do kombucha, we've all been making kombucha as well. I would suggest that with this, like it's better that you don't boil it, because you're actually trying to like preserve that bacteria, which will do the fermentation process for you. So yeah. And in terms of like in Asian stores, this piconcillo, I think we call it piconcillo in Mexico. For us, I think we call it pacachat.
For me,
Mhm.
anise. Anise estrella. It's the same translation.
No, the sugar. I meant the sugar.
The sugar is well, it's from the sugar cane. They crush it and they take all the liquid. Sometimes it makes some crystals, or to keep all together the sugar, they dissolve it in some water just to make it easy to build the piloncillo or these forms.
Right.
Yeah,
so
but
yeah, so these are under, so this is not overly processed as sugar. So that means
no.
they're still holding a lot of their minerals
Yeah.
and nutrients. So this is, if you can get a hold of it, which you can if you go to an Asian store, um, like we use that. Like Filipinos, they use that. My husband, he's from India, and when I did have enough of my version, so I asked my husband, and he has a stash also in the pantry, so I put them all together. And so yeah, so that's how I made. I was so excited about this drink actually, because we've been making kombucha. My husband is the lead on the kombucha, kefir, and all these other fermented drinks. But I was so curious about this pineapple skin. I didn't know about it, so I jumped ahead when I was talking to Eti yesterday. I mean last week, and so I made like 2 liters of this, and it was quite interesting. It tasted like kombucha. It has a slight different taste to it, but it's very good. And if you serve it as like cold in the fridge, it even tastes better. So this is a lot like healthier than the original pineapple water that you started with, because this has already all the fermented like byproducts of the fermentation process. So it's very easy. The thing I would say is, like, here in Canada, it's a little bit cold our weather, so if it doesn't taste it every day, okay, so that you know the fermentation process. Taste it on the first day, it would just taste like bland, like a little bit like sweet, and then second day it's starting to change taste. Third day is when you can almost say like, hey, there's a difference. So it will take a little bit of time, because like Mexico is a lot warmer than here in Canada, even if you have like room temperature. So I would suggest it, observe your thing. It may take like another day for you to have like the end product. And then once you have that, you can stop the fermentation process by putting it into the fridge. Just strain all the pineapple skins and then put it in the fridge. It will greatly like stop the fermentation process so that it doesn't turn into a vinegar.
Yeah. One thing that we do in Mexico, everything we mix or shake or with a gathered spoon. We use the spoon to just mix it. To break, sometimes you need to break down the piloncillo. You just not we are crazy and we use different things. Yeah.
Tea?
Thank you so much. Yes.
Sorry, one question. So
yes.
I have this in my house. It's palm sugar. Is this like suitable to put in the drink?
I think so. Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, they're like the little pucks too. Like I recognized it, but it was a bit different than what I have in my kitchen.
I think we call it's the same process, just is different shape.
Yeah, cool.
And different concentration of sugar. This one is dark because it's when you dissolve the panela or piloncillo, you can see a few things for the plant, for the sugar cane. So yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We call it, you guys hearing me?
Yes.
We call it like wet sugar back home.
Oh.
So it's coming straight from the sugar cane when they mill it and they make the sugar. And so we use back when we were growing up, we used a lot of that because then we had people who were making sugar, have sugar mill. So yeah, we used to use a lot of that when we were growing up.
Yeah, and sometimes we have the same product, just different presentation, and we don't know how it works. But well, it's nice to have this workshop because we share one product and we say this is how in my country we call it, and then the people start telling us how they call in the country back then.
And the way how Marty referred to the pineapple, that's the way I know how to do it also. Like you boil the water, pour it on the pineapple, and you make a pineapple drink. So we used to doing it that way, not knowing to do it this way, the way you do it this way.
Yeah, in north of Mexico, they heat the water. In south of Mexico, my family is my great grandmother and my grandmother they come from Veracruz, is south of Mexico, and my grandfather comes from Oaxaca, is north northeast, sorry, southeast. So they have the same method. And I'm from the city, and I learned from my mom. She's from the city also, and we just combine all the way that they teach us to do the Tepache.
Wow, that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Celia and Malti. So there's that another version coming from your culture. Yeah. So I just want to point out to in India they call it jaggery. And then Vanessa, she has a question: how long can you ferment it for in the prepared state? So Vanessa, is it how long do you normally like ferment this drink?
Yeah, so I just had a quick question, like how long when she's prepared it? She said about 3 days. Can you leave it out like that, or must you refrigerate it?
After 3 days, you can make it more stronger if you want, but for me it's better just 3 days. You remove the peels from the water from the Tepache and to stop the process, and you place it in your fridge. And
okay.
And you can it will not last like a week. It will go fast. Probably you can keep it in your fridge for a week.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and then Carol asked, what types of fruits would have the same fermented juice?
Well, I only try pineapple, but I was reading that in some places in Mexico they use apple and pineapple, apple and guava. Always is apple and some citrus fruit. Yeah.
Yeah. In one of the recipes I was looking at on Google, so it's mentioned that they can even use like papaya, orange, and I forgot. Watermelon rind. So it's very versatile. So if you can get hold, especially of an organic fruit, just go for it and experiment on this. On your tepache using this particular fruit. So thank you. Vidula said like jaggery or raw sugar makes fermenting faster than refined sugar or even brown sugar. I agree because like I mentioned before, it's unprocessed sugar, so it holds a lot of this natural like minerals and nutrients in it. So that means it holds some of this beneficial bacteria in it. So yeah, it would help in the fermenting because you are actually working with live bacteria, good bacteria in that in that like culture. So yeah, they help in the process. I would agree.
Yes, I
All
know.
all right. Is there any other questions or comments? We have like 5 minutes. Daniel, you can unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Perfect. So about sugar, the only part of the United States that actually grows any sugar is in Florida, in the southern part of Florida. So most of the sugar is imported from South America, Hawaii, wherever. Well, actually, Hawaii grows sugar, excuse me. But the United States, in order to promote its corn production and also promote genetically modified corn, they tax sugar. So most sugar is taxed and highly taxed at that. So unless you're buying sugar that says sugar cane, probably you're getting sugar that has maybe 25, 35% corn sugar put into it or to lower the price. So unless you're buying actual sugar cane, you're getting corn sugar in it. As well, other sugars like brown sugar, different type of sugars, they don't all have the same sucrose levels. So some are sweeter, some aren't as sweet. So the longer that you let it you let it ferment in a jar, or you put it back into a smaller jar with a lid on top, you can get more fermentation, and you can make those fine little bubbles that we get in champagne, and that's the same process of making champagne.
Yeah, if you, thanks, Daniel. If you keep your pineapples peeled for longer, it will have little bit of alcohol in here. Just if you leave it longer.
Yeah.
After 4 days, you will have less of 1% of alcohol in here. But if you just cut the process, you will get the all the probiotics in this drink.
And there would be a ton of probiotics, but what you have to do in order to ferment it longer is you got to keep feeding it something. So you need to add more stuff to feed it. But if you stop the process and put it in a bottle with a lid on top, throw in a couple of blueberries or throw in some extra sugar vis-a-vis fruit, the fermentation process will continue long. So creating more probiotics and some alcohol, as you pointed out. But also that fermentation process in a bottle with a lid on top, it'll be like we have marks on our ceiling from over processing kombucha, and it'll just like a blow up. So it's not like champagne, but the greater the fermentation, the more probiotics that you have.
Who is this?
Yes, I agree. We share the same experience here. We have a couple of explosions, which is all part of the experimentation. Yeah, so I'm just checking the time right now. It's 2:59. What a lovely, lovely conversation about this fermentation. And it looks like there's an interest in this fermentation. So I want to plug in right now that we have a waste reduction week coming up in October 23rd. Daniel actually is part of like a presentation. He'll be tackling like sauerkraut and other fermented drinks. So if you are very interested in this fermentation process, what foods to ferment, like sauerkraut, cabbage, beets, and then a Russian drink called kvass, you can get to know more about this preservation on that day. Eti is also a part of that day of workshops. There's at least like 4 workshops happening on that day. So it's a Friday. Please come and join us. Also, Malti is part of that, and she'll be working around apples. She'll be doing like apple chutney, apple fritters, and there was Coachella, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very, very, it will be a very lovely day of like learning with our presenters and also with the community. So please come to that workshop, October 23rd. We'll be sending out the flyer and email for you to like log in as well. So if there's no more questions, last questions, we are all good. All right. So thank you very much, Eti and Christina and Daniel, for sharing the information of all our community leaders who are here. And of course, all of you who joined this workshop, Carol, Shelley, Mary Jo, Teresa, Vanessa, Marlena, Vidala, Celia, Malti. Thank you so much for coming on. And I hope you can join us again next time. If you want to catch the recording of this video, it will be up on YouTube, and it's also available on Facebook Live, and our PDF version will be up on our website as well. Just look at Urban Harvest Program. So, so that's the end of our presentation, and thank you so much for joining.